Hi everyone, I'm Virginia and these are my dogs Dakota and Zion, and we're going to demonstrate today an exercise that can be really useful if your dog is in your way or getting too excited and you need them just to go settle down somewhere. The exercise is go to your bed or go to your place, go to your crate, whatever your signal is, whatever your word is. So there's three components to teaching your dog this exercise. There's having the dog go to the bed initially, go to that space. There's also staying in that space. And the third thing is staying there until you release them. So it's really important that your dog stay in that spot until you've released them. Otherwise, they just get up when they feel like it. So whenever we practice any of these exercises, we always want to make sure we have a release word. And the release word I use is, okay. And that means you can get up. You're free, you're released. Some people also use the word free. That's fine too. Sometimes I'll toss a treat or maybe I'll call them, but I'll give them something else to do. So the way I practice this exercise is I actually do the duration, the staying on the bed for longer periods of time. I do that last, I build that last, because that's something that can be a little more boring for the dog to practice and a little harder, unless they happen to be particularly tired anyway. They might not mind staying there. So the first thing I'm going to start with, I'm going to try and demonstrate doing this with both of these guys. Obviously, they've had some practice with it. They've had some practice with it, and so I'm going to try and show it to you with both of them, so that way nobody feels left out. Good job, guys. So the first thing is showing them down. Showing them that you want them to go to this particular space. So if I bring Zion off, stay. If I stand right in front of the bed, he pretty much naturally wants to go right in front of it. We also often have this orientation with our dogs when we're doing training to stand in front of them about a couple feet away. They want to tend to stand in front and do their little tricks for us. So what I'll do is I'll keep leading him off and I'll lead him back. And I like to feed him multiple treats. I'm just going to go back here sometimes and reward Dakota for being so patient and waiting. So he can work on duration a little bit while Zion's working on getting on and off. So I can lead him off, and we lead him right back on. So I can either feed him by hand, or often what's recommended is to feed the dogs on the bed so that they're not so much looking at your hand, but that they're looking at that bed, that space, and getting really rewarded for staying on there. Now I'm also going to add in the cue of the release word of, okay, let's get off. Wait. Wait. All right, so. It's a little hard with two dogs. Stay. Go ahead. Go ahead. So initially I'm just working on being close to it. Maybe I'm luring him onto it, or I could even toss the treat onto it. But I'm rewarding him a lot for staying on there. But very quickly, once they're pretty good at staying on there and they want to be on there, so especially it's nice to use a nice comfortable surface, like these nice dog beds. But you can even use a rug or a towel. It doesn't matter what you're using, as long as it's something that is a distinctive space for the dog, a landmark, something very visual that they can see is, oh, this is this space you want me to be on. So once he's getting really good at wanting to go onto it, then I'm going to start working on the release word of knowing, yes, it's okay to get off. So as they're being on there, they're being very patient. My release word is, okay. I'm going to actually toss the treat, and basically I'm rewarding them now for getting off. You see how quick Zion is to run right back to the bed. Oh boy, okay. So Dakota maybe needs a little more direction. He's a little newer to this game. Good boy. Okay. Okay. So what I'm trying to do, go ahead. I have them a little more spaced out, and that way I can reward them a little more individually. So as Zion's getting good at going back to the bed, yes, go ahead. Okay. I can reward him without Dakota running for the treat. So if he shows me like, oh, I'm not going to the bed, because see how I'm not standing right in front of it now? He came to that position to be in front of me. So I can direct him over here. As your dogs get better at this exercise, you will be able to do it from gradually further away. Okay. Okay. So I like to practice getting off of it multiple times because then they can also practice going onto it. So here they're not going back onto it. See how they're sitting in front of me instead? Now I'm going to point at the bed. Good. If he didn't go to the bed, let's see what Dakota makes of it. Bed? Then I'll go a little closer. So we want them to gradually learn to follow the point. It's very similar to when we're doing a food lure, where I'm using the food to lead him this way or lead him this way. That becomes your eventual signal of, oh, follow that. Good job. But it takes some time to where, especially where maybe you can do it from like way across a room. So there's different things going on that your dog will learn through association as you practice this, that as you point and you have that's a hand signal, and they'll learn to follow. What are you pointing at? Are you pointing at a bed? Are you pointing of, you know, going up onto a dog ramp or going outside? They have to learn to look for that. You also will have a verbal cue of go to your bed or go to your place, whatever it is you want your signal to be. Good boys. Okay. So as they get better at practicing getting on the bed and getting off the bed, go to bed. So he didn't quite make it. If I go a little closer, even just that leaning that little bit, he figured it out. Go to bed. If I give him a minute to think about it, go to bed. So sometimes if you're standing too still with just that point, they kind of get confused. So sometimes adding a little movement, you know, moving your hand, that can help them follow that movement a little better. Good job, fellas. So as they get better at this exercise, okay, we'll gradually increase the amount of time that they are actually staying on the bed. There's a really good bed. Good. Really good exercise you can look up called Protocol of Relaxation, and it's by Dr. Karen Overall, I believe it is. And there's a PDF form and there's also an MP3 form, but it's a really great series of exercises that can help you work on your dog with relaxation and just being able to relax in a place, even if other things are going on, even if somebody's knocking on the door, or the doorbell rings, or somebody's running up and down the stairs, or whatever it might be. But this is a great way to kind of begin getting your dog ready for that exercise to where they can even stay on the bed while you go around the house and you do other goofy things. So I encourage you to look up that exercise after you practice this a little bit. Good job, fellas. When we're ready to practice duration, we can also practice distance as well. So right now I'm doing everything pretty close to them. But duration takes a little more time, and you have to keep going back to reward. So you see how many times I keep going over to them and giving them little rewards? When I want to add distance, I'm going to do the same thing. Is I'll move a little bit, and this is where the protocol of relaxation kind of picks up, where you move a couple steps one way, you come back and feed your dog. Move a couple steps the other way, go back and reward your dog. You can do jumping jacks, you can do singing, clapping. Good job. So it's a great little exercise. It's helpful to exercise your dog first before you come do this. This is a great game to do once your dog's already had their daily exercise and maybe they're a little bit tired and so they're a little less antsy. But if you do a lot of practice with on and off and on and off, especially if you use a raised surface like if you have a table or spool or even a chair or something you want to let them practice on, that's good exercise. So you can also use this exercise to give them a little physical exercise too, not just mental exercise. All right, everybody, hope you give it a try, and we'll see you soon. Have a great day. Stay.